Because right now we're live. We're live.
We are.
We are live.
Yes.
We're officially live. It's gonna give the notification. We're gonna. It's not that awkward. You charge your phone?
Yes, I did. Thank God. I charged it. I did charge that.
Alright, just started coming in.
Right then, I got my question.
There's all your questions, man. You already said, yo. I was like, she did a research. Like, I'm gonna ask this. I'm gonna ask that. Welcome, everyone. Oh, we already got people in. Welcome to Sex with Brian, episode 15. Holy shit! I'd like to present these lovely ladies here.
Hi.
Brian, introduce yourself.
Everybody should know who I am. Come on. It's obvious.
I don't know who you are sometimes.
Hi guys, my name is Francis. Make sure you guys follow me on Instagram. Not on Facebook. I've actually used Facebook a lot more than what I have because of the quarantine. But please do not add me on Facebook. Too many weird DMs. Follow me on Instagram, AMORBITA.
We're DMs, man, right there too.
Yeah, like trust me, poor thing. Like the heat of my butt night. I can't even. And next we have Diana.
How you doing?
Hi, everybody. So,
Welcome to the show.
Thank
you. I appreciate you coming in.
Yes, definitely. I'm so excited.
She is. She's been looking forward to it.
I
I told her the idea of this. She's like, oh my God, yes! Yes!
I was literally at work.
I need the button to press. I'm so excited.
Literally, like, right next to me at work, he said, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Oh, because we had other plans today." And I'm like, "Nope, I'm in. I'm in. Let's go. Let's do it." And then like I hit you.
She
up. I
really
was
dropped
like,
her off. I gotta take care of somebody, and this and that. I said, well, I got to interview for the show. And I told her who it was. Like, oh, hell yeah.
like
Hell
I'm in.
yeah.
well, I didn't know that you were doing the co-hosting with him. So when you added me on Facebook, like
I added you on Facebook randomly because you're hot.
thanks.
Why did you know? And we had like 30 something mutual friends.
Right.
And I thought I saw you on MySpace like back in the day.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure.
Well, I have a lot of twins out there, like from before transitioning
Right.
to after transitioning. So some people they think like sometimes when people say, "Oh, yeah, I remember you from school," I'm like, "No, you don't remember me." And there was another Diana that we kind of look similar. She has my last name and everything, and people would confuse us a lot too. So
It's that damn yearbook.
yeah.
So even I was like, yeah, you look familiar. Yeah.
You guys went to high school together.
Yeah, we did.
So I went to Coniston Middle School.
Okay, I have a lot of friends.
Through 8th grade. So I do have a lot of friends. Probably, like I noticed people that are actually on your podcast, that follow your podcast, they're from school. So a lot of Forest Hill High School people,
Yeah.
a lot of Coniston people. So,
I think it's pretty much that. Protestant, Forest Hill, and John I.
and Coniston,
Can you imagine the high school reunion that comes across? So what do you do? I run a podcast show that talks about sex.
really? Yeah. Dream, like everybody's dream.
Really, really lives your dream.
Exactly. So yeah, I mean, this is nerve-wracking.
Don't be nervous. I'm so excited. I'm like, yeah.
But you'll see why. Like I'll get deeper into it.
Yes,
So for everyone that doesn't know, she is a trans
So let me correct you. Trans woman.
woman.
Because there's also
Very
trans men.
Trans. I don't know the difference.
It's women that turn into men.
Okay.
So I'm the opposite.
You got trans woman.
Yep. There you go.
Transgender
What
woman.
it is.
So you knew it, right? You knew about this because you guys went to high school together.
No.
Oh,
No. So how did you find out? Sorry, I'm talking so loud.
she told me the truth. She told me the truth. She was honest, and I think she was scared because she thought I was going to respond differently.
Right. Which is, I think, a lot of fear a lot of people have.
Yeah. So it's really funny because I get men, like when I start dating, normally I go into Bumble, whatever, Tinder, so
Right.
like I haven't dated for a while. So then men, they start talking to me, and if I like a guy, I'll be like, hey, listen, like, just because I'm trans it doesn't mean I'm gonna like you. I have standards, a type, and
Well, yeah, I think everyone has their time.
but the funny shit is like men just think like they're gonna get on like
Right.
don't get it twisted. Just because I'm nice or I
Right.
smile doesn't mean that I'm into you. You know, that's the thing. And so automatically men assume that they're being hit on, whether it is by like gay men or trans
It's like when a guy posted something on Facebook or Instagram and the girl likes it. Oh, you into me? No, it's just
Right.
a nice
And I
picture.
think that's with women in general too.
That
Women,
is true.
like I've known a lot of people
Tomato.
quality. Yeah.
That's right.
That's all right.
They can still hear me.
That's all right.
It's
Sorry,
recorded.
technical difficulties.
They can still hear me, trust me.
And I think that's different with women because with me, like I'm really friendly and like really outgoing and I'll talk to anybody, and they might get it twisted. I'm like,
Yeah, exactly.
oh, thank you.
Like I am a pretty nice person as far as cordial.
Friendly, yeah.
Friendly, exactly.
Friendly.
So if someone like
I'll be
says
rude.
something,
Yeah.
I smile, I say thank you, but that's it. I mean,
So my question with that is, once you're on Tinder, do you like put like a little, I guess a little like
In your bio, in your bio.
so normally I put depending on where it is. So sometimes I do put trends, right? Because now you can actually choose if you're
Okay.
women, transgender women, or like other, or prefer not to
Right.
say. So I normally do
Yeah,
say that I have trans.
they are doing that now.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I feel like it's really
It's helpful.
it's helpful because there are a very huge portion of men that look for trans women.
But
And the misconception or what people don't understand is like the men that like me are men that like you.
Right.
And we'll get into probably like the questions and stuff
and
like
there's
that.
also a section. Sorry, let me just
No,
talk
go ahead,
about. Let me talk about.
No,
I feel also too. There's a lot of straight men that are into trans women as a fetish. There's a-
Tranny chaser.
There's a
Yeah.
big community of
Yeah.
that. And I think a lot of straight people don't know about that community where
Yeah.
they'll have like a little trans girlfriend on the side secretly and
We'll get into
Right.
that. Exactly. Like, when I told you no limit, I mean,
It's no limits.
yeah. And the reason why I'm so nervous is because I live what's considered a stealth life.
right.
It's private. It's very private.
As a transgender woman, I don't have the sign because I'm passable. So to the public walking by, you look at me and you say, "Oh, that's a pretty girl." You know, just keep on walking. So I live what is called the under radar self life.
Yeah.
So not like other women that they look a certain way, and unfortunately, they're not like they don't have the privilege is a big word lately.
Right.
Oppression and privilege. That's like the top words lately. So privileged. I do feel privileged in many ways. But I do feel that having like putting myself out here like this
It's new for you.
It's new.
And especially on live
Yeah.
on the podcast.
exactly.
Which, like,
No,
And once it's out, it's out
And
there.
we're not only live on Facebook, we're also live on my Periscope. So whoever doesn't know or has seen me on Periscope, there's so many people that watch me and they don't tell me.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, like I saw your Periscope. Like, so we're also on that. So we're like on 3 different channels right now.
Yeah, it's weird too. Especially for me, because I'm a very
You're-
private person.
And your job too, you
And
know.
my job knows everything.
Yeah, but I feel like it's different because they wouldn't expect that from you.
No,
Exactly.
no. It's like at work, I'm a completely different person from what I am outside.
Right.
Like at work, I'm professional. In my mind, I'm like, fuck you. If you're listening to this shit, like, fuck you. You can't do anything. I'm not at work. I'm on the clock.
That is true. That's true.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, but I'm happy that you're doing this and you're on here because I think that's such an interesting subject, especially nowadays. And even in the past, but I feel like some people, like you said, they're afraid to speak about it by retaliation or certain
Because
things.
we live in a different
We
world
do.
now. Like 10 years ago,
This would never
people,
happen.
this would not happen. 10 years ago, no. Even for trans,
Yeah.
It was more like, stealth, under the radar, mostly Miami, and now we live in a decade where it's more open, it's more accepting, It is what it is. Like I tell everybody, like, listen, man, I don't care what you like.
Right.
As long as you're happy, you want to be what you want to be. If I can pay to be Batman, I'm gonna be Batman. I don't give a fuck what anyone says. I am Batman. But other than that, it's like.
And I started 10 years ago, actually. So when I started hormones, I was 19 years old. And then,
did you feel like you were different when you were younger?
So it's always, is that one of your questions?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm going off my question.
Okay, so being different, yes. Since I was like 4 or 5 years old, that I can recall, I always felt like one of the girls, and I always liked the boys. So since I was 4 in preschool, I would sit with the girls, and I was always very feminine, and like there's 2 different things. So I came out as a gay boy when I was 13 years old, because there's nothing more than, we're talking about like years ago, like 2003. That was 2003. So at that time, trans was like unheard of per se, like in Cristina. Do you remember Cristina? Transvestite, you would see them like all the time. But this is the thing. So,
Transvestites, cross-dressers.
however, that is what saved and protected girls like me. Because when you're passable, people think, oh, a trans whatever, gender, vestite, whatever, right? Cross-dresser, they think a man with tits and a dress. Gross, right? So that protected girls like me that were passable, that we sort of glide through, Earth without, being sort of like like questioned or like, what is that type of thing. And then we went into this whole new era that trans women were coming out on TV left and right. And then that, you have no idea.
Impact.
When Caitlyn Jenner came out as trans, that shit gave me the biggest anxiety, because out of the nowhere, we were put out on the radar. Like, fucking trans. This is what they look like. This is what they sound like. And so I have a specific voice. I have a specific height. And so a lot of people can't really like put them together until you know another trans woman, or you're into it. So you know what a trans woman looks like, talks like. Exactly. You've experienced it. So then you start putting 2 and 2 together, So when Caitlyn Jenner came out, I was like, fuck. Like, this is it. And trust me, I work for a very
consistent. So that was a big impact.
Yeah.
And they knew that you were a woman, not a trans.
Right.
You gotta think about it.
This is my thing. How did you know the difference when you were that young between, when did you do the change between being a gay boy to a trans woman?
So around 16, I started to come out in the gay scene, and I started having like gay friends, and 17, 18. So I would go to the gay clubs and I would feel so out of place, right?
Oh, okay.
And I was like, this is fun, because trust me, gay clubs are super fucking fun. It's not like you go to a straight club and it's like you're being hawked at by like every fucking man that's like horny and desperate. So at a gay club, you're just there having fun. It's very, very different. So, but I felt different, like the crowd of friends were always like the people from school, not like a gay crowd or a gay, community per se.
And this is like over 10 years, it's like 13, 14 years ago.
Right, about 13 years ago.
Yeah, 13, 14 years ago. And like I said, it's a different generation.
Right, exactly.
So when did you do that?
So when so part of it is like I had a sort of like late puberty.
Okay.
I was very feminine, like since I was little. I had curves. I had very soft features. I always had, so I haven't done anything to my face. So this is naturally like God-given, thank God, and my curves are natural. So after I gained so much weight and twice, and my body sort of disformed, then I recently had surgery to get a BBL, a Brazilian butt lift. But naturally, I always had a big butt. Like a friend of mine wrote me the other day. She's like, "Oh, like you always had a big butt, you know?"
Right.
And in school, guys used to smack my ass all the time. Like it was hilarious. Like
I remember you telling me that too.
like guys would just smack my ass, grab it.
When you were a guy in school.
Well, a boy in
Yeah.
school, exactly. So, but I was very delicate and feminine. That, and not in a gay way, because there's two. It was just like I was.
Who you are.
A lot of guys treated me like a girl since I was like in preschool. Like guys would like fight for me to like sort of like defend me. Like if someone wanted to like bully me or try me,
Yeah, I mean,
I always had like
Well,
a
they always knew that you were,
Yeah.
a little different.
exactly.
Right.
So then at 19 years old, I started going through like a late puberty. So out of the nowhere, I started having like a receding hairline. My voice got very deep, and then my fucking body hair said, "I'm here." Like I was like it was
like Chewbacca.
yeah, like where did this hair coming from? And the funny thing is, like, I never had hair before. Like, I was always like hairless, and so I had such feminine features, and then that's what triggered it. And I was like, shit, like,
This is not who I want to be.
I don't want to be a dude. I don't want to be a dude, and it goes
I
into
just don't want to be a gay dude. I don't
yeah,
want to be a
and my mom too. My mom would say like, "Oh, it's so funny because like you don't act like your gay friends." I was like, "Mom, what are you talking about? Like, we're all different. Like, I want
Like everyone's
some
different.
are like masculine, some are not loca, and then some are just naturally feminine, whatever." And then she's like, "No, like you're different, blah blah blah." So then I realized at 19 years old. So I immediately this all started happening. I turned 19, and I literally, so the funniest story was because going into my 19th birthday, we were going to a drag show, and my friend had a drag queen friend. So we go to his friend's house, and they're doing like the wigs and whatever. So I'm just like there chilling with them, and then they're like, "Oh, did you see what's her name? It's a trans girl, like she did a lot of drag shows like years ago, and she's like a TV. No, it's Poison Ivy." So Poison Ivy from like 10 years ago, she's one of the most known trans girls in the community. She's already like what we call a veteran, So they were like, "Oh, did you see Poison Ivy? She got her boobs done." I was like, "Okay, well, if she got her boobs done, okay, cool." And then my friend's like, "Did she like cut it?" I'm like, "Cut what?"
What are you cutting? What?
I'm there, like really, I'm like, "Cutting what?" And she said, like, cut it. And I'm like,
Oh shit!
what the fuck are you guys talking about? Yeah.
Oh my God! Come on!
So I'm like, what are you guys talking about? And then they're like, "Oh, and they started showing me pictures. And
He was talking to Steve in the back. I was like, "Oh shit!"
It's like the LGBT community, she kind of knows a little bit.
And we'll get into that because also that's a misconception. So, so then they started showing me the pictures, and it clicked, and I was like, "This is
What I
like
want."
I found myself, and I was like, I see my future." And now I understood that I was in the wrong body, and then it's like what was portraying, because like literally I was so feminine that people would be like, "Excuse me, miss," I would be like facial hair, I had like a little bob type of thing, and I always had like very pretty hair naturally, but in curvy. So I would wear like, you remember like the skater jeans and like a tight shirt.
Jankles.
Not like super tight either, and like flip flops, and people would just be like, miss," and I would be like, "What the fuck is this bitch screaming at?" So I would like turn, and they were like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry." I'm like, "It's okay." You're complimenting. So it's also
Oh shit!
that's what happened. And then I met her in person, and I remember when I was in my 19th birthday, I dressed up as a girl for the very first time. I wore like
19 ball.
like 19. So I wore like this hair piece that complemented my hair. I had like bands, and I had like this really pretty like poofy dress. It looked like prom dress sort of. So I went to the club, and they were all greeting me, and so I greeted her, and she was like, "Oh my God, like I thought you were just a prom girl." And I was like, "No," and I was like, "I want to meet you so bad." I was like, I'm so happy to meet you." And she was like, "Baby girl, like you're gorgeous, this and that, So I was like, I knew it was meant to happen. Funniest shit ever, because I forgot about this. When I was 16 years old, I used to work at CVS Pharmacy. And there was this hooker in Dixie, the one that's
There's always a hooker in Dixie.
do you know Havana restaurant?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I used to work at Havana restaurant in at the CVS Pharmacy in front. This hooker right by Dixie, she would come in and one day she like this bitch, she just goes like, "You're like the prettiest girl I've ever seen." I was like, "Excuse me?" Like I was a boy, you know, at 16 years old. And she was like, "Yeah, you're gonna be a very pretty girl. You're gonna be a beautiful." And I was like, I got insulted. And I was like, "What the fuck is this bitch? Like, is she?" And she's like, "No." And
That's one thing.
yeah, she was trans. She was trans, and she knew. She was looking at me. Like people, you know, would always call me pretty. Like I remember this one couple. I had a friend from Forest Hill. We used to work together at Davis Pharmacy, and you know, she had the biggest crush on me because I was a really pretty boy. Like girls would be like, "Oh, I'll turn you spray." I'm like, "Girl, highly doubt it."
They try to turn you straight.
Especially like in high school and middle school, like my best friend was gay and he's tall, like handsome, like
Yeah.
all the bitches like wanted it. Like we danced my quince conmigo. I'm like,
Yeah.
what's your mind? Like,
Exactly.
you know, like it's
So like
that's
the
how it
people would
happens.
just be like, "Oh, you're like this couple was together," and she was like, "You're so pretty," and the guy's like he got insulted, and he was like, why calling him pretty?" You know, like he's like, and she's like, "No, he's just so pretty. Like he's such a pretty boy." You know, and it just things like that. But it never clicked on until like
You're
I
a
was
woman.
until like I was 19. So I went into hormones for a full year.
Okay, I'm 19.
Low key.
How does that work with the whole hormones thing?
With your parents and your
So I told my mom. I was like, "Listen,
was she okay with you being gay when you came out first?
yeah, my mom literally brought it up to me. So she's like, "You know, I have a lot of girlfriends, but none of them are your girlfriends." And I was like, and I started crying, and she's like, "I know, it's okay." You know, so it was
It's your parent, it's your mom.
Yeah,
You know,
but not all
Yeah.
parents are.
Not all parents.
Yeah.
Not like old school Latinos, yeah.
Not all parents.
Yeah, especially when you're 13 years old, that your mom she would kind of ask me, and she's like, "You're always hanging out with girls that,"
Right.
and then she just noticed. And so instead of backing me to a wall, she said, "You know, I'm here for you." And the same thing once I came out at 19 as a trans woman again in life. And I told her, she freaked out. Around that time, there was one of the biggest outbursts of murders for trans women. By the way, we have the smallest life expectancy out of everybody. So a transgender woman's life expectancy is about 35 to 40 years old because we normally get murdered. So when people say Black Lives Matter, Black transgender women lives matter the most because they are the number one most killed people in the whole entire world, especially Black trans women. And so as a transgender woman, I have to protect myself, and that's why I do live a very self life. And I'm shunned within my own community. Like I'm shunned because it's whether you're like out there like representing who you are, or otherwise you're really not part of the community, which is really sad because girls that are the most possibles and they live the most common normal lives, they get shunned the most. So that's like the sad part about it, you know. So we go like I started hormones when I was 19 all through 20, and I was just taking estrogen. So when we're in the belly, what makes us a woman or a man, it is hormonal reproduction. So going back to surgery, you don't snip anything. The penis is like a flower. When you cut it in half from the scrotum all the way up, it opens up like a flower. And then what's inside the penis, not that. What's inside of the penis is actually like the one that you guys love so much. That one.
But shit.
It is on YouTube, by the way.
Yeah.
If you want to watch it, because I've watched it.
Yeah.
Like, just out of curiosity, like,
I think years ago, I think it was a website called Fake and Cheese. Do you remember that website? It was like a black market website where they just show random videos like like surgical videos or like two girls in a cup and shit like that.
I remember.
Like, and they showed a video about they snipping that procedure, and I think I was like I saw like really 10 seconds of it, but I can't.
Yeah.
So I think I can last longer than two girls in a cup.
Pretty much, that's exactly.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen like in porn, like fetish porn, like women with big clits, like literally, that's like a little penis.
I've seen that.
That's
Yeah,
because
awkward.
And it's just the
very
hormones
hard.
when you're being
yeah,
like a baby, when you're a fetus,
So,
the hormones that
when-
your body's developing.
women turn into men, they start taking testosterone. So testosterone on a woman will actually give her hair, give her sort of like a very manly shape, will change
More
her
masculine.
voice. Yeah.
Change
And
voice
will change her
Weird.
voice completely, and then you get the beard, everything, and then the clit starts popping out like a penis. Like that shit gets thick, long. In actual, like, and you can find it in like Pornhub, whatever. A trans man clit is like about this big, and it's a thick thing. And some women naturally have it, like she said. Like some women just have humongous fucking clits, you know. So that's just one
I haven't witnessed that yet.
So,
No, I
I've
can't
heard
say.
it. So you can find it online, you know. So that's what makes us like different. It's pretty much hormones. Like in the belly, we're still like not really men or women, and then we get somehow. And I haven't really gotten into it, but like the hormone is what makes us go into reproduction. Because like men have titties. You know how some men have like big titties
Yeah.
naturally.
I had titties for many years and then I recently got rid of them.
So why, right? Because you're overweight. And
Well, yes, exercise.
listen, when people are overweight, you have more estrogen hormones.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Which also happens to a lot of men that are overweight. They might have erectile dysfunction issues and all of that because their testosterone levels go down.
Go down. And like in high school, I remember first though, there was this one kid that had like huge freaking titties. I don't know if you would remember, but there was this one kid, he had like,
Was he overweight or was he skinny?
no, he was like,
Because there's also this like bipolar. There's this bipolar pill that now is like all over the internet suing, like people are suing because it causes you to grow boobs.
yeah,
Yeah.
And it's like a bipolar pill or something like that. So that's like one of the side effects. Like, hey, you're gonna get titties in a couple weeks.
yeah.
You're not gonna be depressed no more, but you're gonna have some nice titties.
You won't be depressed, you won't feel suicidal when you watch your
you
titties.
know, but so it's
And
like
when you go into birth control, the same thing. Birth control with hormones. Women start getting like huge tits, right? And it's dangerous because of the hormones. You're pushing cancerous cells to like really go out there. But like girls when they go,
Staying away from those.
yeah, like actually girls that start taking birth control pills at a very young age, they start reproducing like fast, like their titties get.
well, honestly, one day I was 12 years old and I didn't have any boobs, and then the next day I woke up and I was 13 and had huge boobs, and I've always had them. But I started birth control at a young age, just like to fix your period and to regulate it. No, I already had big boobs.
You already had it? Yeah.
Honestly, if anything, like they're either the same or like smaller than what they were back in the day. But I think some people that does happen.
Yeah.
It depends on the person too.
Yeah, it depends.
So, did you have surgery? If you don't mind me asking.
No.
No. Okay.
No, so the surgery, no snipping. So the surgery is about $40,000.
$40,000 to cut off a dick?
Yeah.
Holy shit!
Tuck it in.
Is that something you want to do in the future? Or do you
In
think you
the
don't need
future,
that?
yeah. So what happens is,
There's always credit.
Well, no, because there's some trans women that will say, I don't need surgery to feel like a woman. Like, I already feel
exactly. So there's something called dysphoria. And so a lot of trans women have dysphoria with their body. Like I have some friends that have the actual surgery because they could not mentally deal with looking down and having a penis. Literally, that's what it is. So they had to get rid of it in order to be like feel
100%.
fulfilled. Exactly. Now, I'll be very honest. Like when I look at it, it feels out of place.
Right.
However, the rate of having a working vagina, it is so low right now that I would not be willing to take the risk. Because at the end of the day, I have orgasms. I can have sex and feel good, and I don't have any problems. So I had a laser lady that we were having that conversation one day, and she was like, "Don't do it right now." She's like, "I know so many girls, and they call it las flores muertas." Because you would never like, and now it's all about like ratio per se. So a lot of girls are saying, yeah, it's working. It looks like 100%, blah, 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 blah. Like, whatever. It's
At
like,
the end of the day, it's just a cosmetic
you're
surgery.
trying to tell people, like, it looks just like yours. No, it doesn't. It looks very similar, like a 90%, but
also you need
it's not a working vagina to the full.
And then to say you also need to go to preparation. You actually have to like dilate yourself.
You have to dilate about 6 times daily or something like that, and then go from like small dildos to
You
like
guys,
big
yeah,
ones.
that's what we are talking about, by the way, if you don't know what dilation is. You have to actually open it up, I guess you
Yeah,
could say.
it's a scar, and you got to make sure that it's not gonna close, and make sure that it's gonna stay open. Otherwise, once it closes, you need to have surgery again to open it up once more.
Oh, shit.
So it's a very
That's very
invasive,
big.
yeah.
Oh,
It's very invasive, and it's not something I'm
Oh,
willing to
I
do.
can see why it's not even worth it. It's not even worth it.
And then just like she can't just be like, hey, like I want to do surgery. No, like she needs to go to therapy first,
Yeah.
get it certified by a
Well, that's
doctor.
the same thing when you start taking hormones. You have to have a psychological approval by a therapist to say, you're not just fucking crazy and you do feel like a woman, because there's a lot of fucking crazy people in the world. And some people, nowadays, people are like non-binary bullshit, whatever. To me, it's a woman or a man. It's like you are a man that or a man that wants to be a woman, or you're a woman or a woman that wants to be a man. Like, this whole non-binary, I don't personally, and I don't want to insult anybody, please don't come for me. But I'm more old-fashioned. I'm conservative. I'm a Republican. I am conservative, which, it sort of goes sort of
I can't wait to get to those questions.
contradicting into who I am. But at the same time, it's like being trans is not the only thing that defines me.
Doesn't matter.
The surgery for me doesn't matter.
At least not right now.
Because at the end of the day, I have plenty of men that are into me, and I have plenty of fun right now.
How do you show the difference of men that are into you for who you are and that are into you because of fetish?
So normally when I started, how I met my ex is, that's a whole thing. So
move.
How I met my ex. So do you know a website called Badu?
Yeah.
Back in the day, so like 10 years ago. Okay, so I went into Badu when it first became a thing. It was like everybody was like Hispanic, like everybody. And so I met a lot of guys that had never talked to a trans girl, that had never experienced
a lot in the
face-to-face.
trans community today.
No.
It's very much
So I actually met a lot of men, and I was, and again, when it gets to the point where, they're interested or something, I'm like, listen, I gotta tell you something, like there's something a little bit different, So I would tell men, and then they would be like, oh, you're being a bitch because, you don't have an Adam's apple. Or you have very feminine hands. So it's like, you're just being a fucking bitch and you don't want to talk to me. You want to turn me down. That's like the first reaction I get, which is really fucking funny. And then I started talking to my ex, and then I got to this point, and I was like, oh, like this. He's like, this is my number, call me. So I called him, we talked, and then, we went on our first date, and he was just sort of
open-minded.
He was very open-minded. He had just gotten divorced. He had a 3-year-old. He had never been with anybody like me. And so we went on a couple dates, and we lasted for 8 years. He's actually in a relationship with a regular girl. It's called cisgender.
Yeah.
So a cis woman. And I was the only trans girl that he's ever been with. And I don't know, probably the only one, because he connected into like a chemistry level. It wasn't what are you.
Hey, you guys still talk, right?
No, not really. We cut it off. Like, we're very different and stuff. And I still talk to his daughter and his ex-wife, which is really funny. But I don't really talk to him.
Are you cool with his ex-wife?
Oh yeah, we're like really cool. Like, you know.
She doesn't know. God, that's some juice right there. That's some soap opera shit, but she doesn't know.
I mean, I don't know if she ever questioned it or no. And
Well,
kids
thank you
are,
for coming on and being so open.
yeah.
Yeah, that's very open. I'm like, what?
So kids are normally the ones that, if they find something funny, they will literally like pop you.
Yeah.
Kids are funny as hell. So
They're
they'll,
assholes. That's all.
yeah. So they'll start, you know, and I've been lucky too with kids, like kids don't normally notice it. They just look a very pretty girl. They get past it. Like my voice is definitely very different, you know. So it's not like a dude, but it's not feminine, you know, and I have a very nasally, which it's a trans girl voice, you know. So, and when you meet a lot of us, we have about the same voice, technically. So,
Okay.
sorry.
So, would you ever tell her? Did you guys ever have sex?
I don't think so.
You don't think it's necessarily
Going into a self-life, it's like when I get to a very deep level with someone and I feel like I want to make sure that that person is now accepting me for who I am to the deepest 100. Like I recently came out to my 6-year-old friend. I was like, I was having my citizenship inauguration thing, and I was like, listen, like I've known you for 6 years, and you know it's time. I gotta tell you this, and like if you don't want to talk to me, I understand. Because when Caitlyn Jenner came out, I tested a lot of people, and I got to know who I could tell and who I could not tell.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, you gotta see who are my real friends.
Yeah, it was a bittersweet situation because I was like putting trans. Yeah, it was like putting trans women like out on the radar. However, at the same time, the sweet moment about it was like really knowing how people reacted. So this friend of mine, she reacted really bad, and she was like, "I don't understand that. It's so fucking weird." Blah, blah, blah. And I was like, "Well, yeah, that goes. You know, I can't tell her. You know." So, and I told her, and I was like, "I know you don't, support this lifestyle, whatever you want to call it." And then, so I told her, I was like, "I'm trans," you know, and she was like, "Are you?" Because I'm always like, I'm very like a jokester, I'm very sarcastic, and she's like, "Yeah, okay, bitch." Like, I really mean it, like I really do mean it, you know. And then she, you know, I've been so lucky that people just accept me for who I am at the end of the day, and I've been so.
Do you
blessed.
think that has to do with what you said of yourself being able to pass easier than others?
It's a privilege. So when people, for example, she also just told her boyfriend that, you know, we would go to the gym together and like we would play around you know, prank jokes on her and stuff like that. And she then told, and I was like, "Oh, did you tell, you know,
so and so?"
And she was like, "Oh, you know, like he didn't react well," because I was like throwing little hints in there, and he was like, "You know, it's like fucking weird, blah blah blah." And like, I don't need you to accept me. I need you to respect me.
Yeah.
Like,
be simple about it. I mean, at the end of the day, like
when people say like this is not a choice, it's a yes and a no. It's 50-50. So it's not a choice that I was born like this. Because I used to cry my heart out when I was a teenager, saying, "God, please make me normal. Make me like girls. Make me want to be manly." I tried. I would tear. I went through like depression. I would get from school. I was never bullied, by the way. In Coniston and Forster, I was rather popular. Especially in Forster, I was a pretty popular kid.
No.
You were a nerd.
I was a loser. I was a gangster.
So I was very accepted by everybody, and like I would be with everybody, like technically,
Same.
like everybody. Do you know Suzette from school? Suzette is like the cutest girl from school. So but I knew Suzette from like middle school. So Suzette and we were like super fucking cool in school, and she was like, "Oh, my baby," isn't it? Because my real name is Diana.
Okay.
So she was like, "What do you have girl name?" And I was like, "Well, it's spelled differently. It's just pronounced the same." She's like, "Oh, you got a girl name, you know, like." So I had her on Facebook for a few years, and like we would comment on each other. And one time she put something, and I responded, and she didn't know. I didn't realize she didn't know who I was.
Right.
So you know that face app where you can switch the face.
Yes.
Yeah, you do. You posted
I
that.
did that,
Yeah.
and she fucking broke me. She was like, "Baby, I don't know who you are," because you know it reminded her of who I
When
was.
you transition, you kind of went like into like a little.
So
You did the same thing to me. When you showed me the before and after, I'm like, and I saw, I'm like, holy shit.
yeah,
I'm like, yeah, I remember you.
exactly.
I'm like, so yo, man, congratulations for Doc. You did a good job. I didn't overreact.
It's so natural. Again, that's like the funny shit about it.
No,
Because
it's just,
I'm the same person. Like I never had facial surgery, so I just started
so
hormones.
when you really compare it, it's like, no, there's nothing really changed.
Yeah,
Other than, body and,
like softer
softer
features. So
features.
estrogen makes you softer.
But other
and
than
that's
that, it was like, holy shit, now I remember you.
Yeah,
Fuck.
exactly.
And it's like, and I agree, man. I think you were more like you're gonna curse me out. I'm like, what the fuck am I gonna curse you
I
out?
had just gotten a guy that he like wanted to like go on a date and whatever, and I was like, listen, and then he tripped out. Like he
I
thought it
always
was
feel like about certain men, because I think some men, especially nowadays, are more open to the fact. Like, sorry, babe, to put you on blast. I was just asking you. I was like, would you date a transgender woman? And how would you tell your family?
yeah.
Like,
So
what, you know what I mean?
That's-
How is it like,
Area is like, I
that's
didn't know
wrong
this
that you're,
detail.
you know,
yeah.
Because area is like, I didn't know this detail. Area, yeah. Area Romero. I didn't know this detail.
Oh yeah, that's
I'm
right.
so she didn't know.
That's right. Yeah.
so how do you respond to that? When guys like, yeah, you know, I'm cool with dating, but just don't fuck family or like don't.
So transgender porn, tranny porn, female porn, whatever you want to call it, it's one of the #1 and top most watched porns in the industry. I'm sure people don't want to know that. So,
Sex sells. What the fuck you want?
but
Especially
Look at my
different.
podcast. I make money off that.
It's different
so
stuff.
a trans woman normally is more of a sex object
Mhm.
to a man,
And like a fetish thing.
of a fetish. They will just like they will love us. They will do whatever they need to do with us. But then they're scared of society, how they're going to be portrayed
How they're
because
gonna be approached.
This
You're gay.
they're gay.
Yeah.
So
You're
this
gay
is the
because
thing.
you're with the
And then I go into the psyche with people, and it's like, you know, I tell anybody, you know, I'm like, if you think about it, closeted gay men,
Nope.
right, that are married and have kids, right,
Lord Jesus.
they're not gonna go after me. They're gonna go about guys that look like you, that are manly and
I touching themselves like, yeah, baby.
so closeted gay men are gay men who are looking for other gay men.
Right.
So the type of men that like me are straight men. And at the end of the day, there are straight men that don't ever touch it, or they like post-op trans women. It's sex has nothing to do with gender. And in sex you experience a lot, like pegging, for example.
Yeah, there's a lot of that.
A lot of men that like that with their, you know,
With their wife or mistress or,
but they wouldn't want to get it done by with hair, like yeah, exactly. So what am I to you? Like physically, I look like a woman. So like, why would a gay man like be? They're not interested.
Exactly.
They're just not
gay.
interested.
I think
Exactly.
it's more than anything is a stigma.
I think it's because people relate gender or sexuality to genitals. So because I have a penis.
And not even that. Sexuality and gender are two different things. Like you can be a trans woman and still be attracted to women. Yeah.
Exactly. So you're not a transgender lesbian.
Look at Gigi Gorgeous. She's a trans and she's married a woman.
We had this conversation with a lesbian couple. We asked them, would you have sex
With a trans girl.
with a trans girl? They said no. But I said, what if they had the full operation? And they say yes, but they're still considered as a guy. You think about it.
Well,
So
no,
you're only seeing what your eyes see.
after surgery, to me, I wouldn't consider her as a guy.
But it's like this, people only see what their eyes see. It's like, okay, you gotta start seeing it with your head.
Yeah.
Start seeing what you feel. You know, like, 'cause at the end of the day, you know, I'm not gonna judge you.
So would you get a trans woman?
I don't know. I'm gonna say.
You couldn't say. You would have to meet the person.
No,
Live?
I don't know.
Well, this is the thing. I think a lot of people are held back in society because of what others may think, whether it is about trans or any other type of girl. Let's say, let's not go too far. Hispanic parents, when you date a black.
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Not in the fucking far, let's be honest. Let's put it in the fucking table.
Let's put it on the table. Would you feel like a certain type of way if your daughter dated a black guy?
Hispanic parents or
Are
places,
very
you know.
racist.
Exactly.
People are
We
racist.
are
Not me.
My mother.
I think I'm not that old school.
Well,
Like, at the end of this,
my
I'm
mom.
Puerto Rican. I'm pretty much got black hair.
You're American.
I'm not Puerto Rican. I'm
Are
not
you
Colombian.
inside?
Yeah.
It's
You
the
see,
same.
my grandmother's darker than me.
She was all about like peace and love growing up, and I love her for that because of who I am now as a person. Like she was a music and theater teacher for 25 years.
Yeah.
So like she already, you know what I mean? And she always told me, I don't care who you love as long as they respect you and love you. And that stuck with me. It just so happened that I like white people, but you know, I've had friends.
White people got the credit.
Well, I've had friends. I've had friends that, well, not white people, you know, like color ones.
Yeah. I know
What
what
I'm
you mean.
attracted to. I have friends that had to sneak around dating their boyfriend because their parents were like, listen, like,
Exactly.
unfortunately.
But that's why they do it. That's why they do it, because
My
they're
mom was my mom's old best friend. You know,
It's like something for being just gotta
she's
do it.
Cuban. She's Cuban. She's Afro-Cuban. She's black, and she likes white men. So her, you know, her ex-husband is white. Her child, which is like my age now, we talk and stuff like. Yo le digo primo, you know what I mean? It's because we grew up together. Our moms are best friends. He only likes white girls. And I don't know if that's because he really does genuinely like white girls or if it's because his mom is black and she's like, hay que adelantar la raza. Like, that way of thinking is so crazy, but people think, right? I haven't heard that so
It
many
goes into
times.
the culture. We are restrained. And the thing is, like, is this a lifestyle choice? Fuck yeah. I chose to be happy.
Yeah.
I chose to live my best life as a woman at the end of the day, opposed to being un reprimido like Caitlyn Jenner. Her whole entire fucking life got married. I mean, she's lesbian, by the way. People are like, I don't understand why she like not married. She's a fucking lesbian, people. Like, it's not her thing.
Yeah.
You know, but at the end of the day, she's still with women. You know.
Yeah, it's gonna make it easier on her too. She
Look at
likes
the society.
women, but she didn't like who she was. So
Exactly.
she's crossed. Este otro, el que boxea. I don't think he's a transgender, but I definitely think he's a transvestite. And I do think, and I do think too, some men are like to do like the whole transvestite thing. And it's like
So there's like a massive portion of men that like to cross-dress for sex or pleasure.
It's Halloween month.
It's a whole other thing, right? They're not gay, and normally they don't like trans women either. They're like women with a vagina, but they also like to cross-dress as a sexual thing. That part, I'm still to like wrap it around my head to get it. I haven't quite gotten it, but there's a lot of straight men that just like to cross-dress, and that has nothing to do with sexuality, because they would not sleep with a most of them would not sleep with another man.
It's hard to make people understand that sexuality is one thing and gender identification is something completely different. Because you automatically, so you're a transgender, you don't like men.
Because you're relating genitals to sex, technically.
Yeah.
So that's what it is. Yeah.
I think, now people should be more understandable about it, because now
They are.
in movies, during TV shows, the music.
Do you
Okay,
know
yeah,
that people ask you, like, do you have surgery? Do you think that's a requisite to be a transgender woman? Or how do you feel about people that like,
So
make
a lot of people ask my mom and my family, they're like, oh, pero ya se hizo la cirugía. And you know, my mom's like, yeah. I'm like, Mom, be honest. Like, I don't give a fuck. Like, do you pay my fucking bills? No, they don't.
To get him off your back.
To get him off your exactly because people already know this fuck. But normally, exactly because if I do get the surgery, people immediately now they go from like an 80% to like 100. That's a woman.
100% of women.
That's a woman right there. Because that vagina will look almost like yours. Like almost. The only thing is it's you know, it doesn't like lubricate. It doesn't quite lubricate obviously. But you literally it's really good. So, like my friend, I have a friend in Puerto Rico, and she had it done, and her shit looks good. I was like, yes, hers is workable. I've met other girls that now again, it's like 1 out of let's say 6, right? 1 out of 6 are lucky, and it works wonderful. Probably 5 will have visually like beautiful vagina, but it would not be functional because. It takes different when you're jacking off as a man. You're literally than when you're a woman. You know, it takes longer.
It feels great.
Right?
It feels great.
What's your question, honey?
Well,
I feel like too, it's different too because in my work right now, there's a lot of scarring, there's a lot of nerve damage, there's a lot of just. I feel like if it's not broken, don't fix it.
Exactly.
To be honest, because that can even mess up the way.
And you know why men love trans women so much?
Because of the penis.
No.
Yeah.
Because we don't fucking fake it.
Oh,
We can come.
that's.
We come. They see it.
they see it. I'm like, yeah, they see it.
You guys know how they just fake it.
Yeah, I do.
You probably faked it once or twice in your life, right? Maybe. Okay.
No, I'm not that nice.
Maybe I do, but that's not this. But a lot of girls and women, they fake it. So men, they see the difference that when we don't feel it, it's like there's no excitement, there's nothing. But when we're into it,
They faked it all the
see.
time with me.
So women are easy. You'll be very surprised. Very, very surprised. So a lot of men, and that's something I've always gotten through in my life. And they're like, you know, that's one thing. And for me, it sort of stuck. And I was like, okay, like, do women fake it that much? Like, I don't know. Or like,
I don't
you
know.
know.
I think we probably might. I don't know. I don't see the point of that. It's so much work to take it.
Yeah. But I have heard from many men.
Oh, that
You know. And you hear between women, like when they're like, oh, I
It's just the way you sound.
now like sometimes like, you know, I can't like finish it, you know.
Like, oh, yeah.
Exactly.
So what about sexual, like your sex life? How is that? I mean, is it very open when it comes to like are you just into like only have sex when you know you're in a serious relationship, or you're more open?
So no, I like just like any other girl, just like any other girl, we go through our whole life, right? We go through that whole stage that we're just like nasty as hoes, right? And then we like to settle and then just be like housewives and whatever, you know. Pero like I broke up with my relationship last year, actually in July.
With the 8-year-old with the wife that doesn't know yet.
Exactly.
That's so fucking that shit. She's hungry.
Pretty much. Now, and the reason why I did it is because there isn't a lot of people that are in the group that, you know, like, so I have different people in my Facebook. It's like families that obviously know and friends from school that obviously fucking know me. But then I have people from work. I have customers.
And you have a very successful career.
And I have a very successful career. I'm an interior designer for kitchens and bathrooms.
Okay.
And now I am
I've seen
going
it
off
work.
on my own.
It's good.
So
Really good.
I work for a guy that is he's pretty fucking racist. He's pretty fucking homophobic, and he's an asshole per se.
How do you feel about working with people?
Does he know?
He doesn't know. He said shit on my fucking face, and I'm like, oh my god, like I started like getting all nervous. I'm like, yeah, right, like.
Oh, you just go with
I
it?
have to play it out. I have to fucking play it out, and at the end of the day, people are like, oh,
Maybe she plays it out. I think
Yeah, it's a
I'm
career.
fucking surviving. Like, I need to make money, and I need to, like, at the end of the fucking day, like, if someone's like being whatever, you know, I gotta fucking survive. I'm not gonna be like, oh, you fucking homophobic, and then leave my fucking salary. Like, is someone gonna be like, oh, I'm gonna send you a check because you're so great? Fuck that. Like, I'm watching out for myself at the end of the day because one, I'm not gonna get fucking murdered. Well, again, we're like one of the top highest rates of murder. Before black men, trans women are the top highest murder rate. Keep that in mind. So for someone to just, because I'm testing your masculinity. Inside, you're being fucking scared. And you're like, wait a minute. You know, this thing just like fucking questioning. Like, you start questioning your masculinity.
That's my happening.
The most insecure men, the most men that feel like they're not masculine enough are the ones that can't be.
Exactly. They get angry out of nowhere, and it's like, wait a minute, don't be angry with me. It's just because you're into a trans girl, like, it's nothing wrong. Like, you're not okay with it, so move on. Now, what I don't support, and this is one thing that I hate about trans women, is that they will lead men and they will go, and that's why they get murdered left and right. It's sort of like you bring it upon yourself. You start dating a guy, and there's girls that you cannot tell at all.
I think
Girls that
with
are
that,
stunning.
it's like
So
not
just like
what you said. But this is what I mean.
I don't know, but this is the thing. Like, at the end of the day, I'm a woman, but I'm a transgender woman. I let people know. You know, I'm very exactly.
If they need to know.
If they need to. Like, when I talk to a guy and the guy like wants to go into the next step, it's like, okay, stop. Like, I would never go on a date with a guy without the guy knowing beforehand.
Right.
And then the guy notices or whatever.
And I don't think that's asking. I don't want to contradict what you said, but I don't think that's asking for them to get murdered. Obviously, that's not an excuse to murder someone. But I do think that they're putting themselves in danger.
They're the ones that are putting themselves in danger.
People are stupid.
Exactly. So people are stupid.
Exactly.
I
So
get
it's like we're animals.
think,
We're
like,
fucking animals. So it's like you're forcing like a man fucking loses it. It's crazy because you go into the society, yeah, and they're like, oh fuck, I'm gay, you know, because now this girl that's gorgeous,
oh my God, you're disgusting.
you know, it's so funny because I have talked to guys that they didn't know and just like talking and stuff, and they've gone into very like serious talks like, hey, I want to meet you because like I really see myself with you, all this and stuff, and they met me for who I am, right? Like, they're getting to know me and stuff as soon as I say I'm trans. Whether I become a fucking sex object, like I'm telling you, a lot of men like trans women. A lot.
Yeah.
Like 7 out of 10. So, you know.
So she's like, I'm good in my book.
I'm pretty good. However, now you just become a sex object to this man because they love trans girls.
But
like,
they don't see yourself in the future.
because they're scared of whatever else that comes with
Right.
it. And that
Their
happened to
families.
me this year, at the beginning of the year. Because after my 8-year relationship, which I felt like a normal person, I was with a guy that just loved me for who I am. I had a stepdaughter, beautiful stepdaughter.
Work out?
Because I became a person of like, I'm all about goals and I'm a money hustler and I want to make something for myself. Like, I'm a fucking, like, I like expensive shit, so I'm gonna fucking bust my ass for it, right? He's not. Yeah. So, like, when I was,
Look at that. Fuck yeah.
so that's what happens. Like, he got stuck and I kept him, like, we got along so well that that's why I stuck in an 8-year relationship with someone that I loved because chemistry, you know, I have like my personality is like, I used to play video games with him. Like, I'm a little bit of a nerd. I'm a little bit of a fucking sass, you know, I'm a little bit of a everything.
Let's try to Z.
No?
No?
Not Dragon Ball.
No, why not?
But like, I used to play like, you know, he got me to video games, so I would play like Skyrim with him and like Minecraft and Sims and like all this shit. And like, he got me.
Those games that my daughter likes.
Yeah, exactly. So he got me, like, I would play with his daughter, you know, like we would all play games and stuff. Exactly. And comics, he got me his comic book.
And every relationship, I think, is like, there's nothing wrong with helping out your partner and letting them help you family.
Exactly.
But it comes to the point where it's like, this is who I am, this is what I want. Get to my level or get to
He
my
was dragging me down.
Yeah.
And
you can't be in
you know, I feel like I was 160 pounds, and like I was skinny and like gorgeous, like fucking gorgeous at 19. And I started getting weight. I went to 290 pounds in my relationship. I lost myself.
Yeah, you don't wanna wake up one day be 40 years old and be like, what the fuck, I'm not happy.
And that's what happened. And I was like, I do it now. I cut the line right here because
you're still young, you don't have kids together,
Exactly.
you don't.
Well,
That's the good thing too with kids. Do you see yourself in the future having your own?
so I love my stepdaughter,
Right.
like to death. Like my stepdaughter respected me like you have no fucking idea. Her mom at some point would literally call me and say, "Can you please talk to Caitlin?" And I was the one that would like set her shit straight because I'm an amazing fucking parent when it comes to parenting. Like I'm super fucking fun. Like I play games with her and everything. But she knew when I said Caitlin. And I looked at her. She had to get her shit together. And like I was able to like raise this 3-year-old into like a teenager. And this girl loved me. It was really hard for her when I left. Like really, really hard.
It's always hard for the kids.
Yeah, it was
Especially
really hard.
if it's such a big part of your life.
Yeah. Her mom
I
texted me.
honestly don't think timing
Yeah.
really matters. I mean,
You're so part of her life.
Not quite, but I still keep track
Right.
on
Okay,
her,
so-
and I say hi to her every so often.
Would you ever tell her?
I don't know if it comes up in
I
the
think it
future.
comes when she's more mature
Oh, yeah,
enough
definitely.
to really understand.
Yeah.
And I think that's what any
And that's just to understand why you didn't tell her.
Yeah. And like I love kids, but I don't feel like that's for me. Like I don't feel like I'm mature enough to have a kid myself.
Right, not right now.
No. Because I loved her and everything, but she was like my weekend daughter and like trip daughter and everything.
Yeah.
Well, I helped where I had to help, but at the end of the day,
So go home.
it's different,
I
you
love
know?
you, go home.
Exactly.
So
So
like my kid, I can spoil you and then let you go.
Right,
Exactly.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
At the end of the day.
Let me buy you everything you want, okay, now I don't have to deal with you.
exactly. You know, and I love her to death and everything, but that's the difference. But she's like
Saying a lot.
her best. So yeah, kids I would say by the way, since I was like 18 years old, I always figured I would have my first around 35 to 40. So most likely like I do my kids.
Oh, my
That's what I
kids.
said.
Well,
That's what I said.
you can have a plan in your life or in your mind, but then life will either, you know, if it's meant right.
Yeah.
So like me, same. Like all my friends have kids, good for them. Shout out to them. I couldn't do that shit right now.
See, a lot of my friends.
Definitely not right now. Fuck that shit. I'm 27. They're like, oh, you're gonna be old when you have kids. I'm like, bitch, I don't care. I will be running around behind the bottom money for that. I'm not gonna
I
have
have
that
a
right
friend
now.
that she loves putting it out there. She's like, oh, when you're 40, you know, with babies, I'm 40 with like college kids, and I'm sipping my margarita. I'm like, bitch, I'll have so much fucking money. My nanny will be right behind me. I'm sipping a fucking margarita with you, bitch, because I'm building my wife's empire that you do not have, and you could not build. So just
I think
like
everyone has
I
a different preference. Like,
Yeah,
for me,
exactly.
for me,
Yeah,
it's like it's on my third now.
I'm 30.
I have babies.
So my mom's best friend.
And I'm like, I have a teenage daughter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm 30.
Yeah.
I'm in my 30s. So I have a teenage daughter.
Everyone's
And I was like,
different. Everyone's
you know, it's
different.
like,
Like my mom's freshman, I was like,
I'm 30 soon, man. 30.
Oh, I thought you said Jesus Christ.
Ya está más para allá que para acá.
I love my 30s. Your 30s are your best times in life.
What? It is. I don't feel that way, dude.
I look way better looking in my 30s than I did in my 20s.
But you know, and I think that's part of it too. Like everyone's different. Everyone's
Yeah. Exactly. Everybody has a different plan, and that's
I'm not
what
interested.
works
My
for
mom
you.
is like, lo miento cuando mi mamá mira, mi favor, tranquila. I love him. We have a great relationship. But the day I have a child, I want to be financially, not so much mentally because mentally I already am, but financially prepared to if el día de mañana.
If you can wait, just wait.
Right, because again, my baby daddy's like, bitch, fuck you, peace out. I'm like, okay, adios, don't let the door hit you on the way
I
out.
have friends that were having kids since 17, 18,
So
whatever.
all my
Their
friends,
fucking parents were the ones raising the kids,
exactly.
not them.
No.
They were holding it up at the fucking club.
Exactly, not me though.
So-
I don't want. If I'm gonna have my children, they're gonna be mine. I'm
Just
not
because
gonna
you
have
fucking pop a kid doesn't mean
Doesn't
anything.
mean
That's not
nothing.
parenting, because that's why the fucking world's so fucked up right now.
I saw a lot of that. Don't you got like a 3-year-old kid? What's going on with you? What do you mean your room was for?
Exactly.
Exactly.
I
We
don't
all
have
need
anything
that money.
against you having like a mom's day out or dating like with
Yeah,
your partner.
exactly.
That's fine. But when your kids are living more with your parents than with you, I don't want that for my children. I want to raise them my way and from my values, my morals. I love my mom. She's like a sweetheart. But at the end of the day, that's the grandchild. That's the grandchild. Not,
And you
not the
girls
kid.
that were partying from like Thursday through Sunday at fucking Rumba every fucking weekend. Like, oh my.
All right, ladies, we're gonna have to cut it short because it's already past an hour.
Well, one question. I know you're conservative. It's
Uh-huh.
totally fine. How do you feel about the Republican Party in seeing?
I knew you were gonna pull out the
So-
politics, man. Like, so like, you
They're
mentioned Republican.
not into supporting the LGBT community.
Correct. So what happens is that financially wise, I am a Republican. Because Republicans are, you want your shit, fucking work for it. Don't expect me with my fucking taxes to raise up your fucking 7 kids while you're home and not do shit. That's my view on it. However, the Republicans need to get their fucking shit together when it comes to getting so involved in people's lives. And it's like, you should not be telling a woman not to abort, especially now, because again, it goes back into women have popped kids that they shouldn't have in the first place.
Right.
Or like a guy or a woman, as far as like who they need to fucking marry, like all that's. I feel like we need to improve that section.
I think
way
too,
more.
with that being like, there's such a huge. We always say, there's a difference between religion and state. I think Republicans want to merge them.
Yeah.
And I'm a Democrat. I think it's the same way as you. I don't want to fucking go my tax money to go to your fucking food stamps to feed your 10 kids.
Yeah.
Well, it's not like I said something for una papaya. And I think
Shit,
the
I
same
don't even
way.
qualify for food stamps.
I'm living on my own.
Yeah.
Well, I'm saying I've been living on my own since I was 19 years old. I've never had.
I'm always
Over 10 years. I love my parents.
I don't care.
I can live with them, but I'm a very independent person because I like my space, if that makes sense. I love them, but I like my own shit. And that's fine, but that too, and the whole, them being like, turning another eye, I guess you could say, to the whole transgender thing. Also, like, is quite annoying.
Yeah, it is. I come from a communist country. Were you born in Cuba?
Yes.
Okay, so I came from Cuba when I was 11 years old. And you see what the communism does to a country.
Right.
The culture se disuelve.
But
It changes mentality and
I have a
everything.
theory about that. Because I have a lot of friends, sorry, y'all, are Republicans.
Right.
And there are a lot of Republican Cuban friends. And to a certain extent, I think that they're Republican because they have a fear. They have a fear that they think automatically by voting Democrat or anything like that, it's Democrat. Por ejemplo, Joe Biden is a socialist. Un ejemplo que te pongo, ¿no?
He's a fucking communist.
The Democrats
Yeah.
are socialists,
Yeah.
and they like to mix it with the extreme, and
Yeah.
to me, any extreme.
Exactly.
I think about that. The problem is also that. You know what I mean? So they're both any extreme to any point.
That's why, I'm not a hardcore anything.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, the Republican Party is so fucked up when it comes to the social aspect, financial aspect. They're pretty on point. They really. It's why we have such a beautiful country. And it's all about business. And when people are like, "Oh, you give it to the rich," in my job, I have a fucking job because the rich get those bonuses, and then they get here, and they go here, and they go here, and then they go to me. And that's why I have a fucking job and I make up money.
And that's my thing is too.
Yeah, I see your work. It's fucking phenomenal.
And you know why? Because I was always a Democrat. And last year, I think it was like 2 years ago, I had a client. And when Trump did that stimulus check and Disney's daughter, she was like, explaining why, where was, she was like, oh, this is the year that the yachts and boats had like the biggest sales. It was right around that stimulus because that went into like super like the richest of the rich, right? Yes, but when they buy that boat, they're giving commission to the people for selling it. They're giving people to the mechanics, and then it goes down and down. Because I had a client who he was a engineer, like airplane engineer, and he was able to do his remodel because his boss was able to get a fucking plane. So then he made money because his boss got that one tax cut, you know?
Right. And
so I got a job, and all the guys, like the installers, carpenters, countertops, so many people got jobs from that one tax cut, that one rich, I mean, yes, it gets to a point where it's like, what the fuck do you do with all that money? You should be really like helping the ones that need it. But at the end of the day, like the way that the Democratic Party sells it, like if you hear Biden, it's like, yo, we're gonna give, these people and I'm like, why? Like, oh yeah, you're not fucking giving that money because
but
you're rich.
That's what I don't even care about the money aspect. Like, if financially speaking, okay, that's great. But then again, it comes to the social issues.
No, the social issues.
Which is where they need to like.
They really do.
So yeah, but anyways, fun. Yeah. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you.
Great.
It was.
I think you educated a lot of people.
Yeah, I mean, I always try. I feel like that's what I'm on earth for. Like, just educate.
Yeah, you gotta be more accepting. I mean,